Hi everyone, I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. Today we're going to be talking about comparing two texts with different genres. So we're going to read this passage which is from one genre, and then we're going to be reading another passage which is from another genre, and then comparing the ideas that they have. So let's go ahead and read this first one about Cassandra and Apollo. Cassandra, one of Priam's daughters, was a prophetess. Apollo had loved her and given her the power to foretell the future. Later, he turned against her because she refused his love, and although he could not take back his gift, divine favors once bestowed might not be revoked. He made it of no account. No one ever believed her. She told the Trojans each time what would happen, they would never listen to her. She declared the Greeks were hidden in the wooden horse. No one gave her words a thought. It was her fate always to know the disaster that was coming and be unable to avert it. So let's answer the question. Based on this excerpt, what can you conclude about Cassandra and Apollo? Well, let's look at the options. Apollo was the only one who believed Cassandra's predictions. It never talked about Apollo believing her predictions. It talked actually about that no one believed her. Apollo lashed out at Cassandra because she rejected him. Yes, this is the correct answer because we can see right here, Apollo had loved her and given her the power to foretell the future. But later he turned against her, which is lashing out, because she refused his love or she rejected him. So this is the correct answer. And now we have a passage from a fantasy novel, which is a different genre. And so now we're going to read this and compare this to the previous passage we read. So I remember that some of the other immortals in my neighborhood who already had temples dedicated to them used to tease me about not having one. His explanation made it a little easier to understand why he'd lashed out at her back then. He'd been frustrated about the teasing. She knew that feeling too, from being teased about her prophecies. It could sometimes make you act in ways you weren't proud of later. What happened, she went on, was we got into an argument and you wound up putting a curse on me. And ever since then, no one has believed a single word I prophesy. Apollo's eyes bugged as he stared at her. Okay, so the previous text suggested that Apollo lashed out at Cassandra because she rejected him, right? That's what we answered. So now how does this fantasy novel build on or challenge that idea? So it shows how Apollo felt when Cassandra rejected him, or it gives a different reason for why Apollo cursed Cassandra. So if we look at the main idea of this passage, it's about his explanation of why he put a curse on her. And then she goes on to explain that situation a little more. So if we analyze this section right here, what we can see is that it actually challenges that last idea because it gives a different reason for why Apollo cursed Cassandra. And that different reason why is because he basically felt like he was being teased by the immortals because he didn't have his temple. And so because of it, he acted out and he lashed at her, and it made him act in ways that he wasn't proud of. So this gives a different reason for why Apollo cursed Cassandra. And so yeah, basically the main idea to take away from comparing two texts with different genres is to keep in mind that because they're different genres, they might be worded differently, but overall, if you go back and you analyze the passages, you will be able to identify the main idea and answer the question. So yeah, that's how you compare two texts with different genres.